what would you, that somebody that may be in that same predicament, maybe, totally saying, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation on how to make it through?
Well, first thing is you gotta keep your mind.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be
The journey. The journey.
New sheriff in town, and his name is
The journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
The journey. The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey.
Welcome back to another episode of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have a Memphis icon that I'm sure you're going to enjoy this story. So before we get to the story, let's talk about the quote. The arc of moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. That's a famous quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his frat brother. So let's talk about Dr. William Arnold, not MD, not PhD, but an ED. Straight out of White Station High School, UT Knoxville, Tennessee State, got his master's and his ED. He's an alpha man, of course, brother of the black and gold, committed to justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Arnold, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, man. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for being here, man. It's an honor.
Yeah.
So, tell me about the early days back in South Memphis.
Back in South Memphis, yeah. Like I said, the 70s and the 80s.
Okay.
Being raised by a single mom who emphasized grades and reading.
Okay.
Those were big things.
Really?
Yeah. School was important.
Okay.
I always had my dad in my life. He never lived in the house with him, but always been a part of my life, and is still a big part of my life to this day. Definitely.
You described him as your best friend.
Best friend. When I got married, even though I'm divorced, he was my best man.
Really?
Yeah, had more fun at the bachelor party than I did. Yeah. But hey, it is what it is.
Team around, huh? Another team.
Indeed.
All right. So, who outside the family?
Yeah.
Outside the family had the biggest impact on young William Arnold?
Yeah. Well, as a kid, I would definitely say television. And
television?
Television. You're right, man. So my mom made me read a lot. So I had all these words and all these things in my head, but I didn't know how to articulate them.
Okay.
How to communicate it.
Okay.
So seeing people not sound like people who were traditionally from Memphis on television, those after school programs and TV shows, whatever.
You're saying people didn't say Miracle?
They didn't say Merle. They didn't say Procol. They were not a part of the community. But it allowed me to take all those words that I had in my head and understand how to communicate them to people, how to be, funny, how not to be funny, how just to understand how to communicate at a young age. And it was just that helped me, model a lot of how I was able to talk to people at that age.
Okay. What decision did you make as a young person that ended up having a lifelong impact, even though you didn't know it at the time?
To go to college.
Really?
Yeah, to go to college.
Okay, so tell me about it. What impact did that have on you?
The social impact of, the people I made, the lifelong friends, the financial impact of accumulating debt from student loans.
Right.
But then also the fact that getting that degree allowed me to go in rooms that I never would have been able to go into had I not gone to college.
Right.
It gave me the foundation of a lot of who I am today.
Okay.
That was my first, post-secondary education experience. So that has been, the foundation in a lot of ways of what allows me to do what I do today.
How different are you from the person you dreamed you would be as a kid?
Extremely.
Really?
Yeah.
I see you smiling, your eyes is twinkling.
Man.
Okay, so tell me about who'd you dream you'd be?
So as a little kid, I wanted to be an attorney.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
where did that come from?
Being talkative, knowing all these words, and just social influence. Listening to my mom, my teachers. You gonna make a great lawyer? Yeah. You a good talker. Okay, and so that's what I thought.
Okay.
And then as I got older, it wasn't as important, right?
Okay.
So I always, as a kid, I thought I would be an attorney, and then later on in life, it was a number of other things, and then I found what I thought was my true love, which was higher education.
Okay.
Working in the college and university area. Yeah.
At what point in your life did you realize I'm gonna be okay. I can do this thing called life?
Whew, man. Probably when I signed my first lease by myself. Yeah, in graduate school, and I wasn't asking for money from anybody other than I was generating my own. I can't say wealth then, but I was generating my own way of sustaining my lifestyle. And let me know I can do this. I can do this. Yeah.
What drives you? How, what gets you up every day and make you fight the good fight, or allows you to fight the good fight?
Being a servant. The fact that I've always been told that faith first, family second, but always serve. Okay. So always being able to do something in the capacity to help other people. When you think about being college educated, being members of fraternities, sororities, Masonic lodges, it's always about serving, and it's always about the community.
It is.
So, but sometimes that community can look different based on your life's experiences, which I can attest to. So just being a servant, man, being able to do something at the end of the day, man, I was able to help somebody. I'm good.
So you said your dad never lived in the house with you.
Yep, never.
What impact did that have, if any, on a young?
Not having, I guess, that for me, that man there to emphasize daily and see what a man should do. It wasn't until I got older and understanding the things that my dad was doing in his home for my stepmom, for my sisters, as a deacon in his church, and seeing that example older. So had I seen that younger, I think it would have had more of an impact in terms of really being a part of my DNA. Those were things that I learned later on in life. I had home training and manners, but not seeing that example of a man in the home. Okay, you got to tell me, because I keep wanting to call you Fry. Yeah. Because everybody call you Fry. So where does Fry come from? Goodness gracious. So Fry was a nickname I got when I was 9 months old. 9 months? Yeah, my mother likes to tell me that I never crawled. I was a chubby baby. She said I would scoot around. I scooted into a tablecloth and pulled some hot soup down on my arm. And my aunt started calling me Fry Baby. And so ever since 9 months old, I have been known as Fry. So people think, well, that's a nickname you got through this organization? Nah, my teachers in high school called me Fry. So it's just been a part of my identity. Oh, well, we're going to call you Fry. And Mama cool call you Fry, I'm going to call you Fry. There it is. There it is. Yeah. Okay, here's a question. Okay. Tell me about the worst day of your life. Whew, the worst day of my life. It would have been, and I can remember almost to the point, Friday, July 12th, 2013, about 11:17 p.m. Okay. A jury of 12 of my peers returned a guilty verdict that led to me receiving a sentence of 25 years at 100% for some things I didn't do. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, hold on. We're going to unpack that one in the set. Well, that's, whoa. Yeah. Wait a minute now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Lastly, on this segment, when did you realize that you was a black man? A black man? Yep. Hold on real quick. Listen, we're going to come right back on the journey. My brother, William Arnold, or Fry, as he's affectionately known, is going to tell us when he realized he was a brother. Stay right there. This is The Journey on the Kazukian Network.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
Success in life is not a straight line. There are twists and turns in everyone's life, and the more you know about their story, the more you'll understand the process. Kazukian Media Group proudly presents The Journey, a show that features successful black men in Memphis telling their stories of their lives and the ups and downs they've encountered on their ultimate road to success. We believe The Journey will encourage young men and help them see that life is a journey. Watch The Journey, hosted by me, Larry Robinson. Brought to you by the Kazukian Media Group in partnership with the Delta Boulay. Welcome back. I told you, this has gotten meaty and heavy real quick. And we're going to get back to those questions I asked right before the segment. However, we have Dr. William Arnold, affectionately known as Fry, as our guest today. Now, Fry. Yes. What's your superpower? What's that thing that you can do better than anybody else?
I'm a connector.
Okay. And what's that mean?
I always see myself as a bridge for people to other things, to always understand who's doing what and who needs what, and say, hey, I know somebody that can get that for you.
Okay.
So whether it's a person looking for a job or a resource or a service, always knowing who's in my mental Rolodex that has access to services as I meet people, say, yeah, I'm gonna connect you with that person so you can get what you need.
I like to call it a blessing. A blessing to others.
Okay. I'll use that euphemism. Yeah.
All right, so you're walking down the street. You walk up to a brother who you never met before in your life. And he said, hey, man, who are you? What would be the first thing you'd say?
Man, I would say that I am a black man from Memphis who loves to serve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be at its core. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to these questions.
Okay.
When did you realize you was a brother?
Right before I graduated from college.
Really? What happened?
I say that I was looking at my resume.
Okay.
And I was, it was a time to start looking for a job, and I was just looking at everything I'd done, and it was all, with the exception of about to graduate from UT, a predominantly white school, everything was black. I've been always a part of black organizations. All my volunteer work had been in the black community. I'd always attended black churches. So to actually see it in writing, I was like, man, I done a lot of black stuff.
Okay.
And I say black stuff with air quotations, but it had let me know that I had, even though I was at UT, I had really existed in a black world.
Okay.
And I wasn't upset about it.
Okay.
But I was like, man, maybe I could have done some other things differently. But I felt that because I was at that school, it gave me that 9 to 5 existence that we experience in corporate America.
Right.
But still being able to maintain my identity before, during, and after work.
Okay. Okay. Your neighborhood when you were growing up.
Yeah.
Tell me about where people you hung out with. What are some of the things? Was you one of those pitch up tackle neighborhoods?
Neighborhood
two-hand
sports.
touch.
Hot ball, playing basketball on milk crates that we knocked the bottom out of.
Yeah.
So you had to have a good jumper. Racing, street races. Just growing up as a kid.
Normal kids.
Yeah, but for me, my normal kid stuff couldn't start until after I did my homework.
Oh,
that was serious. Yeah, that was law. But normal kid stuff as a child. Then of course, once I got into high school, I was getting involved in other things, mentoring programs, the band.
Right.
So just exposure to things. Yeah.
Was there ever a point where you was questioning like, why don't my dad live with me?
Never, because he and I, we always did things together.
Okay.
I knew that, he and my mom had me when they were young.
Okay.
He always explained to me that marriage at that time, though it was encouraged, but for whatever reasons was not an option for them.
Right.
So that was never a dark cloud, if you will, or a stigma that I carried.
Right.
Because as I said, he was always there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What's your memories of school, man? Tell me about the school days. Were you like that student that messed up the curve on the test and things like that?
Nah, I made good grades, but I was always the class clown. Always. Oh, well, whether you were the regular teacher or a substitute, you was gonna get it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you could Joan a little bit.
Check, Joan, dozens, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I gave it to him. And so my grades were always good, but it was the conduct, man.
Horrible, man.
Yeah. So can you imagine having honor roll, but you still grounded because you got ends?
Ooh.
Yeah. I was
Wow.
that. Yeah.
High school, what was that like?
That's when it was going on. In elementary, I mean, I was in like Clue, which is like this thing for gifted kids. So, school. Then, once I got in junior high school, I thought I was cool.
Yeah, but you went from like South Memphis to White Station.
White Station, yeah.
That was
shock.
a trip.
Culture shock. And when you asked me the question about being black, that was one of the first times that I really saw differences in races, differences in upbringing, equity, lack of equity.
Right.
So that said something to me, but I didn't feel that it made me black.
Okay.
Right. It was just that I was dealing with kids who had the last name of Crump. Kids whose parents were both physicians.
Right.
But there were also black kids who were like that.
Right.
So I couldn't say that was a white thing. I can just say it was a different thing.
Gotcha.
But I was also dealing with a different group of people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned being married.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was marriage.
When did you know that it was like, no.
Yeah.
This ain't gonna happen.
Probably last 2 years. It was me. I always like to say checking those boxes that we see at American Dream. You go to college, you graduate, you get a good job, you get married, you buy a house. Was it 2.2 kids and a dog?
Gotcha.
So I bought the house and did the marriage thing.
Okay. You didn't get the dog. Huh?
Yeah, didn't get the dog or the kids. So yeah.
All right, we're gonna go back to the serious part.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, you said the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
And you had the date, the time, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Did you kind of get a feeling that things weren't going right? Because you said it was like 11 o'clock at night when they came back with a verdict.
Yeah. So I'd had a week-long trial.
Okay.
And on that Friday, the trial ended about 4-ish.
Okay.
And the jury deliberated for a little over 7 hours.
Now, was it a jury of your peers? Was it African Americans on the jury as well as Caucasians?
There were 2 African Americans. No, I'm sorry, 3 African Americans, 1 African American male, and 1 Asian male, and everyone else was white female.
Wow.
Yeah. So 8 white females. Yeah.
So tell me about it.
So I was doing volunteer work through the fraternity. We had a partnership with a national organization.
Okay.
And a person with whom I've been doing some volunteer work lied and said that I did something I didn't do. I was ultimately sued. And I was initially sued, and the organization with whom we were partnering.
Right.
And then there was an indictment. I spent 2 years fighting that, and then I went to trial.
Okay.
So on that Friday, after the jury had deliberated for, as I said, a little over 7 hours, I was found guilty. The judge then instantly acquitted me of 2 things because he said that it was physically impossible for him to have happened.
Right.
I then was sentenced to 25 years at 100%.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You got 25 years.
Yeah.
If you could, first the fact that it was untrue. Mm-hmm. What was that feeling?
Yeah.
What was it? Despair?
Yeah.
Was it loneliness?
Yeah.
What did you go through as a black man?
Yeah. So for me, it was, the way I've illustrated a bunch of times, if you can actually think of what it feels like to feel your heart fall into your socks.
Oh, man.
It was just this internal sinking feeling of, I cannot believe this is happening, right? And when it happened, my dad was there. Mm-hmm. And I just remember them putting me in handcuffs, and I remember taking off my rings and my belt and giving it to my dad, just saying, it's gonna be all right. Because at that time, I could do nothing but just work to be what he had shown me, be a strong black man, and just say, hey, it's gonna be all right. I didn't know how it was gonna work out. I just knew it was gonna be all right.
How important was it for him to be there for you?
Extremely, because throughout the process, he was there for me. I was able to talk to him about it before I could talk to my mom, before I could talk to other family members. And whether he understood all the moving parts or not, he listened.
Okay.
So just the fact that he was that sounding board and he was there meant a lot. So when he was there that day, and that was the last face in a sea of not so friendly faces that I saw, it meant a lot to me, man.
Wow. How has that impacted you today?
Yeah. So now, I spent 6 years, 9 months incarcerated.
Wait a minute. You spent 7 years of prison before they found that you were not guilty?
Yeah. 2,491 days, 2 hours and 11 minutes of my life was given to the state of Tennessee 24 hours a day. Yeah. So in April of 2020, height of COVID, my case was overturned, sentence vacated, charges dismissed, and I came home. And prior to that, I've been working in higher education, as I may have said earlier, and my life just sort of changed. And so now my passion, though it's still fueled by the idea of education and what it can bring, I now work to help people who I like to call justice involved, who may have had a touch point with the criminal justice system, get jobs, to help them understand that re-entering society is hard.
Right.
You're gonna need support. but getting a job or a pathway to a career is going to be the best way to keep you focused, to keep you out of trouble, to not recidivate, to reunite with your family, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
How was it being involved with your friends after you had been away from everybody for almost 7 years?
That was strange because, 7 years, and when I went to prison, I was 41 years old.
Right.
So I come out, I'm 48, height of COVID. Everyone, of course, at that time was, isolated.
Right.
But I also realized that everyone had, to some degree, moved on. People were doing different things. People had passed on. All the folks who had kids or kids were at different, stages and phases in their lives. So everybody was just moving really differently. Society was different.
So during COVID, we lost those 2 years. A lot of people feel like this just seems like a blur.
Yeah.
When you look back on those approximately close to 7 years of being incarcerated, is that a blur, or do you remember each moment of that time?
I remember that time in prison, but when I think about what was going on in the world, Black Lives Matter, Trump becoming president, I had to experience those things from afar, from television, from seeing it, but not experiencing it and not feeling the tension or the all the other things that people who were free were feeling. So it's distant to me in some ways. It's kind of like something I read in a history book and not something I experienced in my lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you look back, what would you tell somebody about that experience? What would that somebody that may be in that same predicament, maybe, totally saying, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
What would be your recommendation on how to make it through?
Well, first thing is you got to keep your mind. And when I say keep your mind, this was something that was told to me by a pastor who came to visit me. And that was, no matter what goes on, you've got to stay focused. You got to believe that you can get through this. So for me, it became faith.
Okay.
I had to believe. I was like, look, God, if you wake me up every day, that means I'm going to get through this. And I'm going to stand and I'm going to keep on keeping on.
Right.
And so with that, it gave me this sort of internal idea of, I'm going to make it. No matter what happens, I'm going to make it. If I got to do 25 years, I'm going to make it. But I also knew in my heart I wasn't going to do 25 years.
Right.
I just didn't know how long before the truth came out, right? So I always want to tell anybody, anytime you're going through anything, you can make it. You can make it because, there's that old saying that God won't put too much on us and we can handle. So the question is, whatever he puts on you, can you handle it? Can you handle it?
Right.
Yeah.
Man. Whew. I don't want to stay there any longer, but
Sorry.
What's Memphis? How has Memphis impacted Fry?
Memphis is so much a part of me because it's where I like to say where I was raised.
Right.
Though I feel like I grew up in Knoxville and in Nashville because that's where I became a man. But Memphis was just that first love.
Okay.
The heat, the food, the people. It's just a part of me, man. That when it's like saying Memphis to me is like saying love.
Okay.
Because it's home.
All right. Now you spent a lot of time in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And Nashville.
Yep.
But you from Memphis.
All day, every day.
So tell me, how was it seeing those other parts of the state being from Memphis?
Yeah.
Being a black man from Memphis.
Yeah. It epitomized the flag. That's what I always like to tell people. When I say the flag of Tennessee, there's, the Tri-Stars,
right,
which exists for West, Middle, and East Tennessee. So having gone to college in East Tennessee, lived in Nashville, Middle Tennessee, and being from West Tennessee, I knew that Memphis was black. Okay. Memphis had soul. Memphis had this character that I couldn't find in Knoxville. I couldn't find in Nashville, not even in the black communities, because it just wasn't Memphis.
Right.
It wasn't that. The way we talk, the way we feel, the way we cook, the way we interact. So it just wasn't Memphis. But it also gave me this strong sense of pride to always say, I don't know about that because I'm from Memphis, man. I don't know what y'all got going on. I'm from Memphis. and it was just, and I always that's always been a part of my identity.
Okay.
Even in prison.
Okay.
Yeah, just that I wanted people to always know I'm from Memphis.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any regrets? Anything outside of those 7 years? Anything you'd do over that you'd want to take a mulligan on?
I would have studied harder in college and partied less.
Really?
That's the only thing.
You had a good time in college.
I had a great time in college. I had a great time. But I would say if ever, because, even though that college degree really opened doors for me, had it been a college degree with a higher GPA behind it, and a different set of a different level of discipline, my life would possibly been different in a lot of ways.
Okay, now you're going back to South Memphis. There's this latchkey kid that lives right over there, and you told to go check him out. So you go to the door, open the door. This young fry sitting there eating a bowl of cereal, watching the ABC after school special.
Yeah.
What would you say to that kid?
Hey man, look, a lot of stuff is gonna happen in life. I can't tell you what it is, but no matter what it is, you can get through it. And you can get through it and you can come out with a smile.
Okay.
So the question is, how are you gonna allow it to affect you? Because you know you're gonna get through it. But how are you going to allow it to affect you? Is it going to destroy you or is it going to build you? And that would be a question I would pose to him. But again, as I said, let him know it's going to happen. That's just life. It's going to happen.
Okay.
How you going to deal with it?
All right,
and
now
you can get through it.
We're going to switch that focus from that kid to many young men, young boys who's sitting there. They're watching us right now have this conversation or listening to us have this conversation. I'd like you to look right in that camera, and I'd like you to leave them with a Dr. Arnoldism.
If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you lose, you lost. You got to think how to rise. You got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or the faster man. But sooner or later, the man who wins is the one who thinks he can. Always think you can. Always know in your mind that you can. And you will. Bet on you.
Dr. Arnold, thank you, brother.
Right.
Thank you for coming and sharing your testimony, your story, your journey with us.
Okay.
Listen, I told you, we're going to keep bringing them. I just need you to keep coming back. So, hey, I'm Larry Robinson. For our guest, Dr. William Arnold, not an MD, not a PhD, but an ED. Put some respect on his name. Listen, this is The Journey on the Kazukian Network. Till next time. Thank you to our partners, the Delta Boulay. To hear more incredible stories like this, be sure to download the Kazukian app from the App Store or Google Play. Or check out the Journey Memphis podcast on all your major podcast providers. Also, check us out on the Kazukian Network.